Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Politics But Make It Fashion. I'm your host, Amber Viola. Welcome, everybody. Let's see. So, some updates for me. This week, I had a bunch of doctor's appointments back up here in at the Wilkes-Barre VA. I found out that I have MALS and I am so excited to find out that I have it. You might be like, Amber, what is that? So it's a median um ligament syndrome. So basically it's a condition in which my medium archaic ligament is pressing too tightly on my celiac artery. Sorry, there's tons of big words in that. So basically, a major branch of the aorta delivers blood to the stomach, liver, and other organs and the nerves in that area. And I have a ligament that is pressing against that way too tightly. So it's causing a lot of pain and a lot of digestive issues that I've been having. So hopefully, now that they know what it is, I have a diagnosis, we can start the process of fixing it. So basically, the only fix is surgery. So I have a surgery consult coming up soon. I believe it's like the 6th, and we'll kind of go from there. So, since our last episode last week, so many things have happened in a week. It's been absolutely insane. So first thing that happened was Biden drops out of the race. So there was a growing call and concerns about his cognitive ability after the debate. There was concerns before that. I had even said in the previous election that I felt like he was too old to run then, and he kind of needed to pass the torch on to someone else. Biden, who was 81, could not reverse the growing sentiment within the Democratic Party that he was too frail to serve and that basically he would lose to Donald Trump in November. So what ended up happening was, after these concerns, he ended up dropping out the race. So Republicans were calling for him to drop out the race. I feel like they kind of were the main ones who were saying that the country wasn't safe with him leading and different things. So Biden had wrote a letter to the American people and basically said that in order to kind of unite the country and for the good of a country, he was putting his, personal feelings aside about him wanting to be president himself. And he endorsed his VP, Kamala Harris. So Biden said, while it has been my intention to seek reelection, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and focus entirely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of his term. So he will still be president. I had heard some people saying things like, was he not going to complete his term right now or different things? No, he's going to complete his term right now as president, and then he will not be he's not going to be running for a second term. So I know that there's been a lot of questions about what's going to be the process and kind of what's going to happen, but I think that we've seen this process happen before. A lot of people just maybe don't remember it. We used to have, when we had our conventions, they were going through the nominating process for the people, more than we have in the past few years. Previously, it was more of an actual nominating process during the conventions. And you didn't always get a presumptive nominee for the party before the conventions happened. So, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama came out today and endorsed Kamala Harris for president. So, she is a former prosecutor, 59 years old. She is currently serving as vice president. She actually has no biological kids. She has stepchildren that she's been raising with her husband, Doug. That wouldn't even seem to be an issue, except for on Fox News and Republicans have been bringing it up that she is a cat lady with no kids. There's a lot of people who don't have kids for a lot of different reasons. So I think that they're just starting to isolate more of the population and not bring it together with their attacks on Kamala. So Harris was born in Oakland, California, to a Jamaican and Indian immigrants. So the fact that her parents are immigrants does not disqualify her from serving as vice president or from serving as president. I have seen things about people saying she can't become president because she's not an American citizen. I also saw someone complaining that she was an anchor baby. Whatever, whatever they're saying, she can run, and she is definitely qualified. I've also seen a lot of things where Black people have been talking about whether she is Black or not, and then also white people trying to tell me that she is not Black, which is always such a strange conversation for me to have. But this is a quote when Harris was asked in 2019 about her race. She said that a lot of people are um, giving false claims about her race to sow hate and division among us. She said, I am Black. I'm proud to be Black. I was born Black and I will die Black. I'm not going to make excuses for anybody because they don't understand that. So that is basically what she had to say about that. There also has been concerns about her history as a prosecutor. When she ran last time, there were these claims that while she was a prosecutor, she locked up a lot of Black people, a lot of Black men for marijuana charges and for a lot of trumped up charges and charges that really weren't that serious and gave people a lot of jail time. I had looked into those concerns before and found out that they weren't true, and they still aren't true now. So basically, the claim is that while she was a DA and a prosecutor, she was locking up thousands and thousands of Black men for marijuana charges, which just wasn't true. I believe during her whole time that she served, there was about 1,000 Black people who were locked up for charges. It was less than other people at the same time, and when it actually came down to it, I believe only 45 of those people actively served jail time. So that means they could have pleaded out, the charges could have been reduced, they could have done a whole bunch of different things, but only 45 ended up serving jail time. So basically, it's just a dog whistle. And the crazy part is a lot of times it's coming from conservatives or it's coming from liberal white people who just don't like her. And they're asking this question, and it's not a genuine question. You know, it's more of a got you statement. Well, you know that she locked up a bunch of Black people, and you know that she's not good for Black people and for the Black community. You can vote for whoever you want and you can make the decision. I have my own issues with the genocide that's still taking place right now in Gaza that I feel like we could focus on if we wanted to have real critiques of Kamala. But when you're just bringing in false numbers and false information, that doesn't help anything. And I'd rather you know real issues and not vote for her based off of real issues than based off of lies that people are spewing just because they don't want her to win. And that sentiment is just so anti-Black, and it's just such a dog whistle that people use. And there was a girl who asked this question I saw on TikTok who I had been, acquaintance with for a while. And for me, I had just said, why are you asking these questions of her and not of anybody else? Why aren't we critiquing all the records of all the post vice presidents that we've had in the past? Especially ones that have shot people. Why is it, oh, well, what did she do for the last 4 years? What did she do as vice president? Or, you shouldn't vote for her because she's black. And that's one that I've heard a lot today. And how many people voted for Trump because he was white and he was the great white hope? People don't ask the same questions of everybody else. So when you're only asking the questions of one candidate, one specific candidate, and they happen to be the only candidate that looks different, you should ask yourself, why are you asking this question of them and not of anybody else? So, previously, before Biden had dropped out of the race, Trump and Biden had set a debate for September 10th. The debate was supposed to take place on ABC, but Trump seems to be backing out of the debate right now. He's already stated that he wants to have the debate on Fox News because he feels like ABC News is too biased. Kamala came out and said that she definitely will be still wanting to debate him, and she is still ready to go, and basically told him not to be a little baby about it. So we'll see. I don't know. I can see him backing out of the debates just because obviously when you come from that background where you're working in law and you're having to pretty much defend your stance on everything, I think that she will run over Trump during a debate and that he really won't stand a chance during that. So, we I don't think we talked about last time, but Netanyahu, the war criminal, was coming to speak before Congress. They did ask the VP to be a part of that, and she did decline. I do want to start off by saying that she put out a statement today that some people did not like, where she condemns hate and condemns Hamas and the protests that were taking place in DC. Somebody had sent me a video about the protests, and they had sprayed Hamas on some of the statues and monuments around the area where the protests were taking place. And my question was, how does this help anything? We do know that Hamas is a terrorist organization. We know that. We know that Hamas has not always been great to the people of Palestine. Hamas did get, quote unquote, voted into place, and that was over 20 some years ago. Most of the people that are alive now in Palestine did not vote for Hamas, and Hamas also was the only people on the ticket. They were the only candidate available in that election for them to really vote for. So, no one should be saying that Hamas is this great, amazing group of people and organization, because they're really not. They just happen to be the only people who were looking out for kind of the best interest of the Palestinians. But to spray paint that on things while you're protesting for free Palestine and for them to end the genocide, I personally don't feel like that really helps anything. Let me know what you guys think. And I knew it wasn't going to help anything, because I knew then the focus would not be on the war criminal Netanyahu and why he's here. The focus would not be on the actual protest in Palestine and the actual protest taking place for Palestine all around the world. It wouldn't focus on a genocide. It would focus on people then kind of aligning with themselves with Hamas and saying how great Hamas was, which I don't know if they were or not, but I knew that that's kind of what was going to be the outlook and the outcome of that. So on Wednesday, the criminal Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered an address to Congress in Washington, D.C. This is the fourth time that he has come to address Congress. This is actually more than any other foreign leader in history, which probably says something. Fun fact, one of our senators from Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, showed up dressed in a suit. Now, you might say, Amber, how is that a fun fact, or why does that stand out? Because this is one of the first times he's ever been in a suit during his whole tenure in the Senate. So, We know that Israel and Netanyahu are masters of propaganda. So a lot of the things that were said while he was here was not true. He said that Israel has taken more precautions to avoid harming civilians than any other military in history. That's not true because since October 7th, Israel has killed more than 49,000 Palestinians, including over 10,000 people that are still believed to be buried underneath the rubble. So the death toll is significantly higher than what is being reported. And 70% of the 49,000 confirmed deaths are of women and children. So, Gaza is also home to the world's largest population of childhood amputees. And those are just some of the things that prove that Israel has not taken any precautions. In fact, it seems like Israel is actually targeting civilians. Netanyahu said that the genocide in Gaza has one of the lowest ratios. That's just not true. Um, so it's believed that about 14,000 Hamas fighters have been killed and injured as compared to the 49,000. So the ratio would be about 1 to 9. Israel's officials have admitted on numerous occasions that they have no grasp on the amount of civilians that have actually been killed. They really do not know the true number. Netanyahu said Iran is funding anti-Israel protests in the United States. He provided no evidence to this because the evidence of that does not exist. People are protesting on college campuses because they do not like what's happening. That has nothing to do with Iran and nothing to do with anyone funding those things. In actuality, Israel, they have watchdog groups that have, um, the watchdog groups have revealed that Israel has contacted at least 128 members of Congress, and they have been given Israel linked propaganda and pro Israel propaganda to spread. So, watchdog groups have actually found out that the people who are being paid and who are being funded to protest and give propaganda have been members of Congress to do it in a pro Israel way. So, just to keep that in mind. Netanyahu also said that Hamas was stealing foreign aid and humanitarian aid, which is not true at all. Um, the top U.S. envoys have revealed that Israel has prevented no evidence to them whatsoever about Hamas stealing any aid, and that Israel actually is the one who imposed a total blockade of Gaza, denying entry of food, water, and other medical resources. Targeted killings of Gaza police officers guarding truck convoys, as well as foreign aid distributors, have also hindered the distribution of aid. Remember when the World Kitchen people were killed, and so they were purposely targeting all of these groups and everybody who was helping to deliver aid to the Palestinian people. So that his whole speech was ridiculous, and he really shouldn't have been allowed to come here. It's really an atrocity. Um I'm not one to tell people how to protest because I do not like being told how I'm supposed to protest. I just know that using the term Hamas and writing Hamas's name on statues and different things during pro-Palestinian protests aren't great either, because Hamas hasn't been great to the Palestinian people as well. So that to me just doesn't seem to be the best idea. But I agree with protesting Netanyahu because he shouldn't have been here in front of Congress. We shouldn't have given him that type of platform because he is insanely terrible. So, I don't know if you remember, but a couple months ago, I had done a little story about cocaine shrimp. But we have a new story, guys, about cocaine sharks in Brazil. So, sharks in Brazil have tested positive for a very surprising contaminant, which has been ding ding cocaine. Cocaine has been detected in sharks for the first time, but scientists aren't quite sure of what the total impact will be. The drug has never been previously found in wild sharks, but that doesn't mean that the fish are unique. Scientists just haven't previously tested any sharks for coke. The effort ended up being a total hit, with 13 sharks they examined all testing positive for having the drug in their muscles and in their livers. That is so crazy and so insane. So previously, when we had talked about the cocaine shrimp, it was believed that throughout the UK, where people were, flushing drugs down a toilet, peeing, and different things were causing drugs to get into the water system. And they said the shrimp were acting a little bit different, but they weren't sure kind of what the long-term effects were going to be. So, they detected high levels of metals and also detected some foreign chemicals in them. The researchers became interested in drug testing sharks after cocaine was detected in research rivers in Brazil in the state of Rio de Janeiro. So, Brazil has an estimated 1.5 million cocaine users. That's crazy. Many areas in the country lack sewage treatment facilities, meaning drug contaminated urine goes right into the waterways. Drug runners also may sometimes dump loads of cocaine into the ocean to avoid a drug bust. So, a Discovery Channel Shark Week special in 2023 explored the notion that sharks might take bites of floating cocaine bales. And it found that sharks did investigate dummy packages dropped near the Florida Keys. So sometimes there'll be dummy packages dropped, and the sharks would bite those too. So they realized that sharks would just bite these floating bales of cocaine, trying to see like what is in them. A 2007 study in Florida found that bull sharks have been contaminated with prescription medicines, and that is due to failed sewage systems as well. So, there's been some other animals that have shown to be contaminated, but they said to think that you'd find illegal drugs or cocaine in sharks is actually insane. So, we will see what happens to the shark and to the shrimp. We'll also kind of see what happens if we as humans start ingesting seafood that is contaminated with cocaine, because that obviously can't be great. Can't be great for us, can't be great for the sharks, and I'm not even sure how that's gonna affect them. Like, they're apex predator, so we already know all these sharks around the world are attacking all these people. Like, people just getting bit all the time now. Does that have to do with it? Who knows? Is this gonna make them a better predator, or will this make them a worse predator? We don't know. We don't know. We aren't sure what is going to happen. So, another thing that I just wanted to mention as well was, I don't know if some of you heard about, but there was a fundraising call with Black women for Harris, and it ended up being 44,000 Black women on a Zoom call, which is the most with people on a Zoom call. Which was amazing. I know that they're still trying to break that record, and there's going to be more calls coming out. I would just tell everybody to do their own research on politicians and don't just go off of the information that people are spreading. There's also an image of Harris going around of her and Epstein, which is fake. It's actually a photoshopped image that was originally her and her husband. And I've seen a lot of people sharing that around as well as kind of, a see, look, she's with Epstein as well. But these things aren't true. So just make sure that you're doing your research and looking things up. We all sit with a little computer in our hands every day. And, the powers that be are banking off of us being ignorant and banking off of us not doing our own research. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Politics But Make It Fashion. Make sure you subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok at Politics But Make It Fashion, on Facebook at Politics But Make It Fashion, and on Instagram at Politics But Make It Fashion 1, and we will chat soon.